Welcome gamers, this video is about a mechanic that works on almost every champion, which I've dubbed the Universal Animation Cancel. Anytime you want to cast an ability, then auto attack, you can apply this technique to basically any ability with a cost time in order to get the auto off faster. And believe me when I say that this technique is extremely easy, absolutely anyone can do it. This video is not role specific, it is super important to know about whether you play ADC, support, mid, jungle or top, so no matter your role, make sure you watch this. I discovered this mechanic in 2016 and I've literally never seen anyone else talk about it. I'm sure I'm not the only person that knows about it, but a lot of people only do it subconsciously without realizing what they're doing. Here's how I learned about it. It started with browsing Summoner School and seeing a post from a then small content creator called Deleuze about an animation cancel for Viktor's Q. The video described how Viktor could cancel a large part of his Q animation to get his second Q hit off much faster, so both instances of his Q would hit the target at the same time. He described the technique as being executed the same way you do Riven's Q animation cancel, by inputting a movement command between the Q and the auto. So I took this to custom games to test this mechanic with mixed results. I have and had pretty good mechanics, but I couldn't get this to consistently work. In fact, it seemed to me that the faster I seemed to do it, the less often it seemed to work. Whereas if I deliberately slowed myself, it would work every time. After some more testing, I realized that this was because Aless had completely misunderstood how the animation cancel worked. In fact, he was making it far more complicated than it really was. The real way to animation cancel Viktor's Q is so ridiculously easy that anyone can do it. And what's more is that this isn't specifically a Viktor animation cancel, it's a universal ability animation cancel that any champion can do on any ability with a cost time. It just so happens to be more useful on Viktor because his auto attack after Q is very important to be able to hit quickly. Here's how you actually do it. You'll notice when casting most abilities that this loading bar will pop up above your HUD, letting you know that your champion is channeling an ability. The faster the channel time, the faster the loading bar disappears. All you have to do to pull off this animation cancel is to input an auto attack command after this bar has disappeared. Here's what it looks like for Viktor Q. And here it is without the animation cancel. When you see them side by side, the non-animation cancel Viktor Q suddenly seems painfully slow, and you can see why a Viktor player who does this Q is at a huge disadvantage compared to the one animation cancelling, who will be able to trade as well as burst people much more effectively. The reason why Aless's method seemed to work was because in the time it took him to input a movement command, the loading bar had already disappeared, and then he would input the auto attack command, making it seem like the movement command was integral to the cancel. And this would be fine, except if you become too proficient in this mechanic, you'll do it too fast and your auto input will come in while the loading bar is still in place, so you don't get the cancel. So on top of having to potentially mess you up, it's also superfluous, as the movement command is not part of the cancel at all, and needlessly complicates what's otherwise a very simple technique. But this isn't the Viktor Q animation cancel video. This is a universal animation cancel video, and as I said, this animation cancel to get your auto attack off faster works on basically every ability with a channel time. Here it is with Ezreal Q, Ezreal W, Ezreal E, Jhin Q, Jhin W, Ashe W, Ashe ult, Teemo Q. You get the picture. If you're playing a champion that ever wants to auto attack after an ability, aka every champion in the game that isn't Yuumi, then you can and should do this mechanic. So now that you understand how to do this cancel, you might be wondering, why does this work? Well, basically every ability cost is separated into two phases, the casting phase and the wind down phase. The casting phase is where the loading bar comes in and is what makes your ability go off. The wind down phase is just a useless animation that happens after your ability is already done casting. It's in the game to make the champion's movements during ability casts look fluid and make them drop back into their resting pose in a natural looking manner if you're just looking to cast an ability while standing still. You can cancel it for gameplay fluidity reasons because the game feels a lot smoother that way. But the whole topic is not publicized and not even discussed at all among the general player base, which leaves the players that either know about it or do it subconsciously with a massive invisible advantage of the players that don't. Each ability has a different duration in its wind down phase, however long it takes to get a natural looking movement back into the champion's resting pose, and this is what creates the difference in some abilities having higher benefit to animation cancel than others. One thing worth noting though is that there are some exceptions. I remember the first champion besides Viktor I tested this with back in 2016 was Lucian. However, when I tried to get Lucian footage for this video, I found out that he seems to have been coded to always automatically do the cancel by himself on both Q and W. Tristana E I also realized years ago had been patched to do it automatically as well. I'm guessing both were done intentionally because the speed and fluidity of Lucian's combos were far too important to be gated behind a mechanic no one knows about, and likewise, the cancel was extremely important to Tristana in early levels because not animation cancelling could cost you a bomb stack. Meanwhile, with Caitlyn Q, I straight up couldn't animation cancel the wind down period at all. She seems to be coded to not have it able to be cancelled for some reason. There may be other abilities which are coded similarly. Worth noting though that it did work with Caitlyn W and Caitlyn R, especially on her ultimate, and made a tremendous difference. On the whole, there's probably zero reason for this invisible mechanic to exist in the game, and I think all abilities should be patched to automatically cancel the wind down phase just like Tristana and Lucian's abilities were. It's very hard to discover that auto attacks go off faster if you input an attack command after the channeling phase as opposed to before or during it. Logic will tell you that it shouldn't make a difference, but it does. However, now you're armed with this knowledge, and I invite you to go test it for yourself in Practice Tool, get a good feel for it, and take it up in a real game. Depending on what champions you play, this could either make a tiny difference or a massive one, but in both cases, there's zero reason not to apply this. Make sure to subscribe to see more educational content like this, especially for bot lane, and like the video to help me get this out there. See you in the next video, gamers.